Hey everyone, and welcome back to Becoming Ultimate Masters. We love diving deep into all sorts of wisdom traditions and practices, and today we're tackling something that might sound a little
It's a
mysterious.
little mysterious, yeah.
But trust me, it's all about unlocking potential that I think we all have. It's like discovering a hidden superpower.
I like that.
But instead of, like flying or invisibility,
Right.
it's about expanding your awareness and your perception.
Absolutely. We're talking about the third eye, a concept that's been around for centuries in various cultures.
Okay, so third eye, I think before we jump into like what it is,
Yeah.
maybe let's clear the air about what it is and so
Yeah.
no like crystal balls or fortune telling.
Not exactly, no. It's
Yeah.
less about predicting the future and more about a systematic approach to self-development.
Okay. Systematic self-development. I like that.
Yeah, and the book we're exploring today really lays this out. It's called Awakening the Third Eye.
Awakening the third eye.
And it's all about developing a sharper intuition.
Yeah.
A deeper understanding of yourself and the world around you.
Okay, I'm already intrigued. So how does this book suggest we even begin to awaken this third eye?
Right.
Is this like something we're born with or can we actually like develop it?
So that's a great question. And the book really emphasizes that this isn't some supernatural gift
Okay.
that only a few possess. It's more like a skill you can cultivate through practice and awareness.
Okay.
And one of the initial steps it talks about is what the author calls channel release.
Channel release. Okay, that sounds kind of intense. What exactly does that involve?
Well, imagine your body has these energy pathways, almost like rivers of energy flowing through it.
Okay.
They're called meridians. And channel release is all about getting those rivers flowing freely, removing any blockages.
What about meridians? Isn't that like an acupuncture thing?
Exactly. It's the same concept. And think about it. Haven't you ever felt kind of stuck or sluggish?
Yeah.
Like something's holding you back? That could be a sign of energy blockages in these meridians.
Whoa, okay, I see where you're going with this.
Yeah.
So how do we release these channels?
Well, the book suggests a technique using what's called throat friction breathing.
Throat friction breathing.
Yeah. It might sound a bit unusual, but basically it's about creating a vibration between your eyebrows, which is where the third eye is said to be located. And you do this through specific breathing techniques.
So we're actually like physically stimulating that energy center.
Yes, that's exactly right.
That's fascinating. What kind of sensations might someone experience when they try this?
It can vary from person to person. Some people might feel a tingling or warmth. Others might see flashes of light.
Oh, wow.
And some might even experience a sense of expanded space.
Okay.
But the important thing is to be open to whatever you feel, even if it's subtle at first.
Okay, that's reassuring to know.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's more about being attuned to your own unique experience.
Yeah,
Than having some like dramatic movie like awakening.
absolutely. And the book stresses that any experience, however subtle, is a valid starting point. It's about trusting your own perception and building from there.
Okay, so we've kind of like activated the third eye.
Right.
Through this vibration. But what about these meridians you mentioned earlier?
Yeah.
How do they fit into the bigger picture of developing this third eye vision?
Well, the book actually provides instructions for sensing the flow of energy along specific meridians, particularly in the arms and hands.
That's really interesting. So are we talking about actually feeling like a physical sensation in these meridians?
Yes, exactly. The book suggests using gentle rubbing techniques to help you become aware of the energy flow in those areas.
Okay.
And it emphasizes that these aren't rigid pipes,
Right. Yeah.
but more like rivers with the energy ebbing and flowing.
So it's almost like you're learning to feel the pulse of your own energy system.
You got it.
Yeah.
Exactly. And the more you practice, the more sensitive you become to these subtle energies within your own body. But it doesn't stop there.
Wait, there's more.
This awareness you develop it can actually extend beyond your own body.
Okay.
Remember how we talked about the third eye helping you perceive things beyond the ordinary? Well, the book suggests you can start by tuning into the energy of things outside of yourself.
Like what?
It could be anything, really. The book specifically mentions trees.
Trees.
Have you ever noticed how different trees kind of have different vibes?
Now that you mention it, I kind of sense that. Like some trees feel very peaceful and calming, while others might feel more vibrant.
Right.
Or even a little spooky.
That's exactly what we're talking about. This is the beginning of developing your sensitivity and intuition. You're starting to pick up on the subtle energies around you.
So by paying attention to how different things make us feel,
Yeah,
we're actually training our third eye to perceive those subtler energies.
that's it.
That's pretty cool.
It is. And as you practice this tuning in, you might start to notice even more subtle things like the energy of people or even places. It's all about expanding your awareness beyond the purely physical realm.
This is also fascinating. We've gone from breathing techniques to energy pathways to sensing the energy of trees. It's a lot to take in, but I'm already feeling like my perception is shifting a little bit.
That's great to hear. And we're just getting started. The book then delves into more specific techniques for developing what it calls seeingness.
Okay, I'm ready for the next level.
Right.
What does seeingness entail?
Think of it as the ability to perceive things beyond the physical, like auras or energy fields.
Right.
And one of the techniques the book describes is called eye contact.
Eye contact, so I just like stare intensely at someone.
Not exactly. It's more about cultivating a different way of seeing, beyond the usual judgments or mental chatter.
Okay.
The book suggests gazing at a partner or even yourself in a mirror while holding a strong awareness of your third eye.
So it's about shifting your focus from the physical appearance to something deeper.
Exactly.
I'm curious what kind of experiences can come from this practice.
Well, the book suggests that as you practice, you might start to perceive subtle energies or auras, or even glimpses of other realms of consciousness. But it's important to approach these experiences with discernment, as the book emphasizes. It's easy to get carried away and misinterpret what you're seeing.
So while being open to new experiences, we also need to be like grounded and critical in our thinking.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay, that makes sense. This is starting to feel like a delicate balance between like being open and discerning.
You got it. The book is all about encouraging that balance. Be receptive to new experiences, but also question your perceptions.
Okay.
To make sure you're not fooling yourself.
This is all incredibly fascinating. We've covered a lot of ground so far, from activating the third eye with vibration
Right.
to exploring our energy system and even learning to sense the energy of things around us.
That's a lot.
But there's one thing that's really piqued my curiosity.
Okay.
The idea of night practice.
Ah, yes, night practice. This is where the book dives into the realm of sleep and the potential for experiences like astral travel.
Okay, hold on. Astral travel. That sounds pretty
Yeah.
intense, even for this conversation.
Right.
What exactly does the book say about it?
Well, it starts by suggesting that babies are actually natural astral travelers,
Babies.
effortlessly moving between worlds.
Wait, babies. What do they have to do with astral travel? I mean, they can barely hold their heads up.
Well, the book suggests that because babies haven't fully fixated their consciousness on the physical world yet,
Yeah.
they have an easier time accessing these subtle realms.
So they're kind of like little experts in something we adults have forgotten how to do.
Exactly. And the book provides a fascinating technique to tap into this tuning into a baby as it falls asleep.
Okay, that sounds interesting.
Yeah.
How does tuning into a sleeping baby help with astral travel?
The book suggests that as you focus your awareness on the baby, you might experience a sense of being pulled upwards into a lighter state of consciousness. But it's important to approach this with a lot of respect and awareness.
That's a good reminder. This is all starting to feel a bit like venturing into uncharted territory.
Yeah.
But before we go any further, I think it's time for a quick recap.
I agree. We've covered a lot of ground today, haven't we?
We sure have, from debunking common myths about the third eye to exploring techniques like channel release,
Right.
tuning in, and even eye contact.
It's a lot to take in.
And who knew babies were such talented astral travelers?
I know, right?
I'm definitely eager to learn more.
There's so much more to uncover in the book, and I'm excited to delve deeper into these fascinating concepts with you.
Stay tuned, listeners. We'll be back soon with part 2 of our deep dive into awakening the third eye.
Welcome back to our deep dive into awakening the third eye. Before we jump back into those techniques, there's something the book mentions that I think a lot of us, especially, young adults and high school students can relate to.
Okay, I'm all ears. What is it?
It talks about how a lot of people, particularly when they're younger, have these little almost fleeting perceptions, like, a sudden tingling or seeing a flash of light, things like that. But they often dismiss them as just their imagination or some weird sensation.
Oh, totally. I remember when I was a kid, I'd sometimes see things out of the corner of my eye, but I always just figured I was making it up.
That's exactly what the book is getting at. It encourages us to actually pay attention to these subtle experiences, no matter how strange or fleeting they might seem.
So instead of brushing them off, we should be more curious about them.
Yes. It's about reclaiming that childlike sense of wonder and openness to the unknown. What if these experiences aren't just our imagination running wild, but actual glimpses into those subtle realms we've been talking about?
That's a pretty mind-blowing thought. It makes me think about how the book emphasizes direct experience
Yeah.
over just believing what's written.
Absolutely. Like, it's not about blindly accepting what you read, but about exploring these concepts for yourself and seeing what resonates with your own experiences.
It's like, don't just take our word for it, try it out and see for yourself.
Yeah.
I like that approach. It's empowering.
Now, remember we were talking about the eye contact technique for developing seeingness? The book goes into a lot of detail about the different levels of perception someone might experience during this practice.
Yeah, I remember reading about seeing auras, energy fields, and even past or future selves.
Yeah.
Honestly, it all sounded pretty far out there.
It can definitely sound that way,
Sure.
but the book is really careful about emphasizing the importance of discernment.
Hmm.
Just because you see something extraordinary doesn't mean it's what you think it is.
So it's about staying grounded even when you're exploring these expanded states of consciousness.
Exactly. The book actually offers some really helpful tips on how to distinguish between a genuine perception and something your mind might be projecting.
Okay, that makes sense. It sounds like walking a tightrope between being open to new possibilities but also staying critical of what you're experiencing.
You got it. The book is all about encouraging that balance. Be receptive to new experiences, but also question your perceptions to make sure you're not fooling yourself.
Okay, so far we've talked about seeing things beyond the physical, but earlier you mentioned that the third eye isn't just about seeing, it's also about understanding what you perceive.
Yeah.
How does that play out in the book's teachings?
The book argues that as you develop your third eye vision, you start to see the interconnectedness of everything.
So it's not just about seeing things that are normally invisible, but about understanding how everything fits together on a deeper level.
That's a great way to put it. It's about seeing the bigger picture. And the book suggests that this understanding can lead to some pretty profound insights into your own life, your relationships, and even your place in the universe.
Wow, that's pretty powerful stuff.
Yeah.
It sounds like gaining a whole new level of understanding about yourself and the world around you.
Exactly. And the book also emphasizes that this knowledge isn't just for you to keep to yourself, it's about using it to make positive changes in your own life and in the world around you.
So it's not just about personal enlightenment, but about using this awareness to contribute to something bigger than yourself.
That's the heart of it. The book argues that true spiritual development isn't about escaping from the world, but engaging with it in a more conscious and compassionate way.
I really like that perspective. It's about becoming a more engaged and responsible person, not just someone who's off in their own little world.
You know, we've mentioned the relationship between the third eye and the heart a few times now,
Right.
and I think it's worth taking a closer look at that.
Yes, please. I remember the book saying that true vision requires both clear seeing and deep feeling.
That's right. The third eye, which is often visualized, between the eyebrows, is associated with intuition, insight, and spiritual vision.
Right, and the heart center is all about love, compassion, and empathy.
Exactly. And what's so fascinating is that the book argues that these two centers need to be balanced and integrated for true spiritual awakening to occur.
So it's not enough to just see clearly. You also need to feel deeply and connect with your heart. It's about combining those two aspects.
Precisely. It's about developing a holistic vision that encompasses both the head and the heart. The book even describes a practice where you bring awareness to both the third eye and the heart center simultaneously, cultivating a sense of unity and wholeness.
I love that imagery. It's like those two centers are working together, informing and guiding each other. It makes me think about the idea of heart-centered wisdom, where your intuition is guided by compassion and love.
That's a beautiful way to describe it. And the book suggests that this kind of wisdom is essential for navigating the challenges of life and making choices that are truly aligned with your highest good.
Okay, this is all incredibly rich and insightful, but I'm also wondering how these practices actually translate into everyday life. Is this something you just do during meditation, or can you integrate it into your daily activities?
That's a great question, and the book actually encourages us to bring this awareness into every aspect of our lives.
Well, it's not about escaping from the world, but about living in it more consciously.
Exactly. The book suggests that by cultivating this expanded awareness, you can start to perceive the subtle energies at play in your interactions with others and your work, even in the places you go. It's about being present and noticing things on a deeper level.
So it's like tuning into the energy of everything around you, not just focusing on the surface level.
Yes, and the book argues that this can lead to a much deeper understanding of yourself, your relationships, and the world we live in.
It's like seeing the world with new eyes, noticing things you might have missed before.
Exactly. And this heightened awareness can help you make more conscious choices, act with greater compassion, and create a more positive impact on the world around you.
This is starting to sound less like some mystical pursuit and more like a practical guide to living a more meaningful and fulfilling life.
That's a great way to put it. The book emphasizes that these practices aren't just about esoteric knowledge, but about personal transformation and spiritual growth.
Now, I'm curious about what the book says about the challenges someone might face as they're developing their third eye. Are there any obstacles we should be aware of?
The book acknowledges that opening the third eye can sometimes lead to intense experiences that can be challenging to integrate into everyday life.
Right. I remember reading about things like headaches or feeling overwhelmed by psychic perceptions or even going through emotional upheaval.
Yeah, it's important to be aware of those possibilities. The book offers some practical advice on how to navigate these challenges, emphasizing staying grounded, seeking support from experienced practitioners, and most importantly, listening to your own intuition.
So it's not about denying or suppressing these experiences, but learning to work with them in a healthy way.
Yes, and the book really stresses that these challenges are often signs of growth and transformation.
Okay.
By facing them with courage and awareness, you can come out stronger and more resilient on the other side.
It's like the saying, no pain, no gain. Sometimes the most difficult experiences lead to the greatest breakthroughs.
Absolutely. The book encourages you to embrace the challenges as opportunities for learning and growth, not as setbacks.
Okay, that's reassuring. So we've talked about the challenges, but I'm also really interested in the long-term benefits. What kind of impact can developing the third eye have on someone's life over time?
That's a great question. The book suggests that as you continue to develop your third eye, you become more intuitive, more compassionate, and more connected to your higher purpose.
So it's not just about seeing things differently, but about actually becoming a different kind of person.
Exactly. The book argues that opening the third eye isn't an end in itself, but a doorway to a more fulfilling and meaningful life.
It sounds like a journey of self-discovery, where you're constantly uncovering new layers of awareness and understanding.
That's a great way to describe it. And remember, the book emphasizes that this journey is unique for each individual. There's no right or wrong way to approach it.
I love that. It's about finding your own path and trusting the process.
Mhm.
One of the things that really fascinated me was how the book discussed the role of the third eye in different spiritual traditions.
Yes. It mentions how the concept of the third eye appears in Hinduism, Buddhism, Taoism, even ancient Egyptian mythology.
It's amazing to think that this isn't just some new age idea, but something that's been recognized and explored for centuries across different cultures.
The book actually explores the similarities and differences in how the third eye is understood and cultivated in these various traditions. It provides a really rich and insightful overview of the historical and cultural context of the third eye.
I think that's so valuable. It helps to ground these teachings in a broader context and appreciate the wisdom that's been passed down through generations.
Absolutely. And as we're nearing the end of our discussion for this part, I want to touch on something the book emphasizes repeatedly.
Okay, what is it?
The book stresses that the true purpose of awakening the third eye isn't about gaining psychic powers or escaping from the world. It's about cultivating wisdom, compassion, and a deeper understanding of ourselves and the universe.
So it's ultimately about becoming a more conscious, loving, and enlightened human being.
Precisely. It's about using these practices to enhance our lives and contribute to the well-being of all beings.
This has been such an inspiring conversation, and I feel like we've covered so much ground in our deep dive today.
We've explored practical techniques, potential challenges, long-term benefits, and the spiritual significance of awakening the third eye.
But I feel like there's still so much more to uncover.
You're absolutely right. The book is a treasure trove of wisdom and insights, and I encourage you to explore it further and see what resonates with you.
I think that's a great place to pause for now.
I agree. We've covered a lot of ground in this part of our deep dive.
Stay tuned, listeners, as we continue our exploration of awakening the third eye in part 3, where we'll dive into some more specific practices and techniques. Welcome back, everyone. We're diving right back into our exploration of awakening the third eye. Now, before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to revisit something we touched on earlier, the concept of channel release and how it connects to activating the third eye.
It's a crucial piece of the puzzle, isn't it? Remember how we were talking about those energy pathways, the meridians being like rivers of energy flowing through the body?
Yeah, and how sometimes those rivers can get blocked,
Yeah.
leaving us feeling stuck or sluggish.
Exactly. And channel release is all about getting those rivers flowing freely again. The book describes a technique called connected rubbing,
Connected rubbing.
which involves gently rubbing specific points along these meridians to stimulate the flow of energy.
I remember reading about that. It involved tracing the paths of certain meridians in the arms and hands.
That's it. But it's not just a mindless physical action. The book emphasizes that you also need to bring your awareness to the sensations you're experiencing as you rub those
So
points.
it's like a mindfulness practice where you're really paying attention to what's happening in your body.
Absolutely. And the book suggests that as you become more sensitive to these energies, you might start to perceive them as vibrations or tingling sensations or even warmth or coolness.
I can see how that would make the concept of energy channels feel much more tangible and real, not just some abstract idea.
Exactly. It's about bridging the gap between the physical and the energetic. And there's another key point. The book highlights the importance of connecting the energy you're awakening in the meridians with the third eye center between the eyebrows.
So it's about creating a flow of energy between different parts of the body's subtle energy system.
Precisely. It's like creating a circuit, allowing that energy to circulate and amplify. And the book suggests that this can make it easier to access those deeper levels of perception associated with the third eye.
This whole approach feels so holistic, like you're working with the body, mind, and spirit all at once.
That's a great observation. The book really emphasizes that developing the third eye isn't just about seeing things differently, it's about becoming a more whole and integrated person.
Speaking of seeing things differently, I was particularly intrigued by the book's description of the different levels of perception one might experience when working with the third eye.
Yes, it's fascinating, isn't it? The book outlines a whole spectrum of experiences ranging from subtle vibrations and tingling to seeing light and even having a sense of expanding space.
I remember it mentioning that some people might even perceive colors or shapes or even images. It's pretty mind-blowing to think about.
It is. But here's the thing, the book emphasizes these experiences are unique to each individual. There's no right or wrong way to perceive these subtle energies.
So it's really about trusting your own experience, whatever that might be.
Exactly. Don't compare your experiences to others or get discouraged if you're not seeing dramatic results right away. Be patient and consistent with your practice and trust that these abilities will develop over time.
That's such an important reminder. It's easy to get impatient or even feel like you're doing something wrong if you're not having those wow moments right off the bat.
It's a journey, not a destination, right? And each step along the way is valuable.
Now, one of the practices that really stood out to me was the idea of tuning in to the energy of things outside of ourselves.
That's a powerful practice, isn't it? The book suggests that by practicing this kind of tuning in, we can expand our awareness and become much more sensitive to those subtle energies that permeate the entire universe.
I remember the book suggesting things like tuning into the energy of trees or flowers or even animals. I'm curious, how would someone even begin to do that?
It's about shifting your attention and intention. It's like you're intentionally reaching out with your senses to perceive something beyond just the physical form. And the book emphasizes that this is a skill that develops over time. In the beginning, it might just be a subtle feeling or intuition.
But with practice, those feelings can become more clear and defined.
Exactly. And the book suggests that this ability can not only enhance our spiritual development, but also deepen our connection to the natural world.
I love that idea. That's like you're becoming more in tune with the heartbeat of the planet.
It's a beautiful way to think about it, and it speaks to that interconnectedness we were talking about earlier.
Now, I imagine that one of the more challenging aspects of developing the third eye is learning to discern between what's a genuine perception and what's just our own mind projecting things.
That's a critical point. The book talks a lot about the importance of discernment, of not mistaking our imagination for something real.
How can someone develop that ability to discern?
The book suggests that cultivating a quiet mind is essential. It's about creating a space of inner stillness, where those subtle energies can be perceived more clearly without the interference of mental chatter and distractions.
So it's about silencing that inner critic and those constant thoughts that are always running through our heads.
Exactly. And the book provides a number of techniques for cultivating that inner stillness, such as meditation breathing exercises and mindfulness practices.
It sounds like it's a gradual process of training the mind to be more focused and receptive.
That's a great way to put it. And here's something else the book emphasizes. Don't be afraid to seek guidance from experienced practitioners. They can help you interpret your experiences and make sure you're staying on track with your development.
That makes a lot of sense. Spiritual development doesn't have to be a solitary pursuit.
Absolutely. The book highlights the importance of connecting with others who are on a similar path. It's about sharing experiences, learning from each other, and supporting each other's growth.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, from practical techniques to potential challenges to the long-term benefits of awakening the third eye.
It's been quite a journey. And as we wrap up, I want to circle back to one of the key messages that the book emphasizes throughout.
Okay, what's that?
The book reminds us that the true purpose of awakening the third eye isn't about gaining psychic powers or escaping from the world. It's about becoming more loving, wise, and compassionate human beings.
It's about using these practices to make our lives richer and to contribute to the well-being of others.
Exactly. The book argues that by developing our third eye, we can tap into our full potential and create a more positive impact on the world.
This has been such an insightful and inspiring deep dive. I feel like I've learned so much about the third eye, its potential, and how we can start to awaken it.
I agree. The book offers a wealth of practical wisdom and guidance for anyone who's ready to embark on this journey of self-discovery.
For anyone feeling inspired to learn more, be sure to check out Awakening the Third Eye. And for those who want to continue their journey of becoming ultimate masters, make sure you subscribe to the Becoming Ultimate Masters podcast and share it with someone you love. We release new episodes every day, so check back tomorrow for another exciting topic. And if you're ready to take your personal growth to the next level, visit www.ultimatemasters.org coaching or WhatsApp plus 256-771-324-119 for more information.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep seeking, keep growing, and keep becoming the best version of yourself.